Alright, so now that we've covered hierarchical clustering, we'll go back to our course grades dataset that we'd covered before and see hierarchical clustering in action. So first, make sure you have the following these plugins installed. So you will need those. So we need you would have already installed educational. We will require this geo package and yeah, pretty much the geo package should be enough. Yeah, we require the geo package, so do have that installed. The rest text and image analytic, not image, yeah, text, those ones you would have already had installed, hopefully from our the live session that happened last time. So we have this, and now we can start off. So we'll first initialize our data set. So this was the course grades data set. If I double click over here and search yeah, we have course grades. When you click on it also, you will have a description that talks about the contents of the data set. So we'll double click and select this. Once it has been selected, you will have a green circle that is over there indicating that it's selected. And now just to recap, we'll have a look at how this actually looks like. So this is our data. So we have 16 students and we have 7 subjects: English, French, history, algebra, biology, physics and physical. And now we to first illustrate, we will take only 2 columns along this. So I will take I choose columns by using select columns. So I will go to select columns. If you remember from the live session, we saw there was some interesting connection between the subjects English and French. So we'll do clustering only on that. So for now I'll ignore all these and I want English and French over here. So these are my 2 dimensions. I'm taking 2 dimensions so that it's easier for us to visualize, but later we'll see what to do in the whole scenario as well. So now I will plot a scatter plot of this. Sorry. Scatter plot. If I double click, I have this particular plot. If I want, I can see the names of the students. And we have this. We can use this slider to make these points larger or smaller. You can use the scroll wheel to zoom in. You can use this hand icon to pan the graph, and yes, various things you can do here. So we see this is a plot, and we can see there's a nice linear correlation that people who are good in English also tend to do well in French, whereas the other way also holds true. So yes, we'll first only on this we'll try to perform hierarchical clustering. We'll see the dendrogram and we'll see how we can interpret all those here. Right, I'll minimize this for now. Yeah. So now that I have this scatter plot, I can. So first we saw that for performing hierarchical clustering, we require a distance matrix. So in orange, that is simply called the distance widget. Distances widget. Yes. So we click on this, we double click to configure this. We use the Euclidean distance, so we'll continue with that. Normalization is a pre-processing technique that people generally do before performing these analyses. But for now, we'll just go with Euclidean, because since all of our marks are already in a good structure between 0 to 100, it is okay. But in cases where you have varying ranges, such as the temperature, which is in a very small range, you have height in meters and weight. All of these are of varying ranges. So at those times, it is important to normalize your data, which is scaling all of them so that they are in one particular range. But since we have good data here, we'll go ahead with just Euclidean, and then we can look at the matrix, the distance matrix. So in orange, it's called distance matrix. If I double click this, I have these distances. Just to ensure that this should be useful. Okay, so just to ensure that these are indeed our Euclidean distances, we'll consider one example and actually calculate it. So here we have Bill and George. Yeah, Bill and George, right? Bill and George are 4 units apart. We look at a scatter plot to see if that is indeed the case. So where is Bill? So we have Bill here. Yeah, we have Bill here and we have George. If I hover over Bill, I'll have, I can see that he got 91 and 95, whereas George has 91 and 99, so they differ only along French. So George is 99, Bill is 95, so the distance between 95 and 99 is 4, and so that sanity check is fine. So Bill and George are 4 units apart. Similarly, you can, so this is what the distance matrix is, right? So for example, if I consider Fred and Eve, I can see they're 93 units apart, they're quite different, and so on. So this is how we calculated our distance matrix, and now we can use this distance matrix to actually perform hierarchical clustering. So I'll select hierarchical clustering here. So here these are the linkages that we have. We have various linkages. We have single. If you perform single linkage, you will get this particular dendrogram. If you perform, there's a linkage called average, weighted. You can since I've already explained what complete and single are. Average and weighted are also straightforward to grasp. I urge you to Google search these if you are interested. And we also have ward. Ward is not that straightforward, but essentially a ward gives you much more cleaner histograms in the sense there's more separation between the root and this. So it is a concept of minimizing intercluster variance. If those terms sound a little complicated for you, don't mind. The thing is, we'll get good dendrograms here that right, that are presentable. So now that we have this, we also talked about cutting dendrograms. So if I hold here and move my cursor along, you can see I can cut my dendrograms to further get clusters. And now that we have these, we'll also visualize these clusters, right? So before doing that, so I'll show you what. So now that we have this hierarchical clustering, if I'll extend this and I'll show you what is actually being given out by hierarchical clustering. Now it says selected data to data. If I double click on this, now you can see there is this. So we already had English and French, but now you see that there is this new attribute called cluster, where I'll also open the hierarchical clustering one, right? Yeah. So now that we have this, now since there are only 2 clusters in this particular configuration, we have Anna in C1, we have Maya in C2, that works, right? Now if I make the clusters more disjoint, then you can see Cynthia is in C4, and yeah, so we have that, right? So this is what the hierarchy clustering widget outputs as its data. And now using this particular data, I can plot a scatter plot and color these with respect to their color ID. So if I do that, I can just drag, say scatter plot, and yes, so I have this. Move this front. Yeah, I'll also color these by the clusters. So in attributes for color, I will select cluster. So I have a legend. There are 5 clusters, and this is how it's plotted. So we'll just walk through the same process that I covered in the slides. So if I go make it all the way to the right, I will much more. I'll zoom in as well. Okay. Right. Yeah. So first we have these clusters. Then you can see from here that or even over here you can see these are close to each other. I'll put my labels also, labels student. Yeah, so we'll zoom in here. So we have this. Now you can see from here that Leah must first go with George, then Eve should come with these 2, and then Bill along with these 3. So we'll see if that is indeed the case if I move it slowly. So I have Leah, then George comes in, then Eve also comes in, and then Bill comes in, right? So we have these the nice cluster, and then if I keep going up, you can see the other clusters are forming. For example, Anna and Henry form a cluster. Yeah, so you have Anna and Henry forming a cluster. If I keep going like this, you can see, yeah, I'll zoom out as well. You can see the clusters form, right? Now Cynthia, if you can guess, she should be in the yellow cluster. You can see that from the dendrogram as well. Cynthia comes over here as I keep moving it up, and yeah, so these are the 2 clusters set up. And finally, if I move it more, I should get just 1. Okay, it's not happening, but if I move it more to the left, I should just get 1 cluster. Now in orange I can also highlight particular clusters. For example, I see En and Phil are here, so I can just highlight those, and this would just plot that one. So it will only plot the selected ones, and that's there. If I want to only color them as two separate ones, then I'll have to pass in the entire data set here. So if I go here, and so what I do is I plot my entire data set here. If I do that, then I will get both of them, right? So yeah, now if I want to see En and Phil along with the rest, I can just press in here. You can see it highlighting based on which group will be selected. Now I have En and Phil. If I want to see the cluster by these four, Maya, Bill, Eve, George, Leah, 5. So they seem to be the high performers in these subjects. So I can see only those being highlighted over here. So these are the things you can do in orange. But this is fine. In this particular case, I can eye it out and tell you that these are the clusters. So it can be done manually. But recall that we only took two attributes over here. But hierarchical clustering can be expanded to multiple attributes as well. For example, here we had 7 subjects. So we'll, instead of doing the select columns, we'll perform hierarchical clustering on the entire data set. So we'll see how that goes. Now for that, I need not select columns. I can directly say distances, configure this to Euclidean. Yeah, Euclidean, this Euclidean is fine. And then as I've done here, I'll plug in the hierarchical clustering widget. I'll also show a scatter plot. Now a scatter plot, I cannot do it on all the 7 dimensions, so I'll have to select just 2 of them and do it. So I am passing in the entire data, and we'll see how these clusters look like. So I'll put the dendrogram on my left and the scatter plot here. Okay, and now these are the clusters we got using mod linkage on students. If I move this here, if I just form clusters, okay, this is not the color must be on cluster. Yeah, then this will work. Okay, so these are the clusters we have. So we have Anna and Henry together. So and we are only doing this on English and French again. I can make these to be any 2 ones. It's fine. We cannot visualize the entire thing, but this is what we have. Yeah, now I have it on French and biology, and I have Anna and Henry together, which is okay. But at least along this axis, I would put labels as well. Labels as a student. I would rather put Olga and Henry together rather than Anna and Henry along French and biology. But this is considering all my 7 data streams, and I have Anna and Henry together, and so on. So you can see, at least geometrically, this is not interpretable. Like, we don't know why these clusters are forming the way they are. So that is what we'll cover next. So in the presentation, I talked about cluster interpretability. So now we'll see how to actually interpret these clusters, or how a teacher, when they have a data set as so, how can they interpret these kind of clusters. So we'll